Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Last time you saw us, we were wrapping up one of our bucket list hikes, backpacking Havasu Falls.
Since then, we've been back home, spending time with friends and family, but that ends. We're back. We're hitting the road again, heading west.
So this week's video, while we drive, we're going to be answering some of our most frequently asked questions by our friends and family while we were home. First category of questions we're going to go with is a little bit of background on how we got into van life.
All right, first question. What inspired you to convert a van and hit the road?
I guess I followed a couple van lifers on YouTube, and I always thought it was really cool, but for Greg and I, we both had office jobs at the time, so it never was really a reality until 2020 when we went fully remote. So at that point, I was like, we could actually do this. We could convert a van, travel, and work from the van, kind of having the best of both worlds, having a career and getting to travel. What about you, Greg?
You.
Next question. Did you have any experience with van life or DIY projects before this?
No experience with van life, but and very little building experience as well. The only experience I had was on the mechanical side, the engine, the actual car itself. So I think that helped, but as far as building the interior of the van, zero prior experience.
The entire build process was a huge learning curve for both of us. How long did the conversion take, and what was the most challenging part of the build?
The conversion took a little under a year and a half, and the most challenging part is easy for me. It was installing the auto-term diesel heater that's sitting under Jess right now underneath the passenger seat.
Last question about background and how we got into van life. Was there ever a moment where you questioned the whole idea before you took your first trip?
I had one moment where I started to question things, and it was when we were halfway through the build and I had to replace a pretty complicated part on the engine, and at the time the van was backed into the garage, it didn't run, the engine was all tore apart, the interior was halfway built, and I did have a moment where I was like, what are we doing right now? Are we ever gonna make it work? All right, we are back on the road, which means we have more questions to answer. So this time, I'm going to be asking the driver, Jess, a couple questions. Question number one, how was the transition from living in a house to living in a van for you?
Honestly, it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. There's not really much in the house that I miss. Aside from easy access to a shower and a flush toilet.
Showers and flush toilets are nice. Okay, next question. Was there ever a moment where you questioned whether or not you would actually like van life?
Yeah. So our first trip, we started up near Greg's parents in Pennsylvania, and we drove down to Texas to visit some friends and family. And if you're familiar with the East Coast, there is no federally owned land, no free camping, so it's very, very difficult to find good campsites. And I think the first few nights on the road were a little difficult to find places to stay, and where we did stay, they just weren't anything special, and I really was questioning if we were going to like it or not.
All right, question number 3, and this is the one we probably get the most, I would say, is how was the transition for Maya?
I think it went pretty well. Maya's very adaptable, very happy to do anything, and we did what we could to make sure that the vans felt like a comfortable space for her. She has her own, we call it her crate, but it's just a hole under the bed that kind of serves as a den. It has her dog bed, and she can go in there and feel safe. And then we put a window right next to our bed where she could lay and look out the window during the day while we work and kind of stay entertained.
Question number 4. What was one thing that is more challenging to you about living on the road than you thought it was going to be?
I would say getting water. I don't really know what I expected, and we only do it once a week, but it seems like that's the hardest thing to find when you're on the road.
What was one thing that was easier than you thought it was going to be?
I would say our internet. I knew that we would be able to work from the road, but I thought we would be more limited on where we could stay. Throughout our entire 4 months on the road, there was only one time where we couldn't work where we wanted to stay. And the rest of the time, our internet system was able to provide enough upload and download speeds for us to work fully remote, be on video calls without having any issues.
Yeah, the internet's been really good so far. So hopefully it continues that way. So, all right, we'll catch you again later when we have more questions.
Okay guys, next set of questions we're gonna do while we cook some lunch. This section of the questions is gonna be all about our first trip that we took. So, first question here is, where did your first trip take you and why did you choose that destination?
What was the end destination? I guess the furthest west we went was San Diego, but that wasn't the intention of the trip. I guess we were headed to Texas to see friends and family and to escape the cold, which in Texas we failed at. But we were heading southwest to escape the cold and winter of Pennsylvania, really. Once we got to Arizona and into California, the weather, very good.
What was your favorite area to camp in?
I really liked, there was a certain site in Tucson, Arizona, outside of Tucson, that I loved. There was another one I'm thinking of that was above Sedona, where we got snowed and left, in Prescott National Forest. It was at, 9,000 feet elevation?
Yeah,
it was pretty high, but it was the first time we camped in trees the whole trip. So I think that's what made it really cool. Those two stick out to me. And Mission Bay RV Resort and San Diego, 10 out of 10. Love that place. Next question.
What was your favorite hike?
Okay, we're not going to say Havasupai.
I was wondering if that was allowed.
Not allowed to say that. That doesn't count. I'm going to say Chiricahua.
That was mine too.
Yeah. Chiricahua National Monument near Wilcox, Arizona. Must see.
Last question about our trip. What is one moment from the trip that you'll never forget?
I'll never forget the first time we stayed somewhere that wasn't like a designated camping place.
Cracker Barrel?
Yeah.
Or, I guess we
like
stayed
the
at the casino.
or a Love's or Cracker Barrel or wherever. I feel like those moments stick out in my head a lot. So that might be something that I won't forget. Well, we just finished up dinner in Badlands National Park. We figured now would be the perfect time to wrap up our questionnaire video as we traveled from Pennsylvania all the way to South Dakota. So Jess, I have a list of questions that we've been asked and you can give some answers.
Oh boy.
So question number 1. How did traveling in a small space like a van affect your relationship?
I feel like it didn't really affect it at all, honestly.
Well, I guess that's good.
I think if you can survive the van build, living in the van is no problem.
That's facts. Way more arguments building the van than living in the van. Question 2. What did you learn about each other on the road that you didn't expect?
I feel like Greg liked van life more than I thought he would. I thought he would kind of tolerate it because it was my dream, but sometimes I think he likes it more than me.
Might be true. Jess is normally a big time planner, like an itinerary for a vacation and scheduling things and booking things in advance. And I just wasn't sure if she was going to be able to let that go in the van, because you just can't live like that in the van. If you make a plan, they're going to change, and that's just the way it is. And you've done surprisingly well with that. Question 3, how do you divide responsibilities like driving, navigating, cooking, dishes, etc.?
Well, driving and navigating is really easy. Greg drives, and the GPS navigates.
Yeah. So 1 for Greg. Keep going.
No, but if Greg is driving and we're headed to an area that we don't really know what we want to do, I'm always the one researching it. For example, we did not plan to come to South Dakota. We planned to go to North Dakota, and last second we decided to ditch those plans and come to the Badlands and then up into the Black Hills to try to find some cooler temperatures. And so I spent the time as passenger researching the Badlands and the Black Hills, trying to figure out what we want to do while we're there, how much time we need there, where we can camp, all of that good stuff.
Cooking and cleaning, that's easy. It's a one person kitchen, so if one person's cooking, the other's hanging out on the bed, and they'll probably do dishes. We kind of go back and forth on who cooks and who does dishes. Question number 4, and our final question of the video is, what is next? Where are we going? What are we doing?
Well, a week ago I would have told you we are going.
Yeah.
We're going up to Theodore Roosevelt National Park and then heading to Glacier. But obviously our plans have changed, and the longer we are on the road, the more we learn to not tell people what our plans are.
Right.
The plan is to head west, enjoy our time out here, see things we haven't seen before, maybe see things we have seen before.
So maybe we'll go to Glacier. Maybe we'll go to Yellowstone and the Tetons. Maybe we'll stay here.
Well, if you've watched this far, thank you so much for watching. If you have any other questions about van life, living on the road, having a dog, remote work, drop it in the comments below and we will do our best to answer you fully.
Yeah, leave a comment. And next week, we'll be back to the regular scheduled program of our adventures, whatever they may be. We'll see you then.
Last time you saw us, we were finishing up a bucket list hike, hiking Havasupai Falls. It's wrong.
Ow! Why was that not open? Banging your head off never stops hurting or being funny.